Welcome back to another episode of Obliterated Companion. I'm Peter. You guys really excited about today's interview. You heard him in the intro. Let's get blasted. We got Zach Zagoria. How you doing, sir?
I'm great. How are you doing? Thank you for having
Oh,
me.
absolutely happy that your voice is back.
I know.
Um, let's get into that just real briefly. So we were conversing, corresponding around the time of the I don't want to call it maybe a soft premiere. There was a screening Netflix gave you guys.
Yeah.
What was that like, that event?
Oh man, that event was so fun. It was just like the exact experience I wanted. It was perfect. It was so fun to get all dressed up and see these people. So it's been like a year since we wrapped shooting on it. And so it was great to just see everybody again and go into the holidays with Obliterated coming out. And I'm really glad we got to celebrate it too because the actors and writers have been on strike for so long at that point. And I don't think any of us were really sure if we were going to be able to post anything about it, support it, promote it in that sort of way. So, but just in the nick of time, the strike ended, it all came through, and we got to celebrate together, which was super dope.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I can only imagine what you guys were going through, including the writers, that
Everybody,
that period. And for me that kind of happened at the right time for me to kind of start up Obliterate Companion, because I'm sure you guys that couldn't share anything was like, who is this guy? Oh, he has a picture with like John Josh and Hayden, has met some of the writers as well that were on Cobra Kai.
yeah,
So I did get a lot of the cast members to start following me, and as I do, I just share anything that I find that's related to the show, to kind of just like, hey, I'm here to help promote as well. So
yeah,
it ended just at the right time too. So, the timing couldn't be any more perfect. Um, so before we get into Obliterated, I
yeah.
kind of teased that, man. I went down a Zagoria rabbit hole.
I'm so scared what you're about to
Okay.
ask me or what
So
you.
so so I even thought I even kind of like rehearsed a clip that I may even put out as a teaser, like, oh, what happened with Zach's interview? But this is what I practiced. What the fuck are you doing on a show like Obliterated? Right.
What
So
do you
that's
mean?
what I practiced for you, right? Because Zach, are you a soprano?
I'm a tenor. I'm a
You're a
singer,
tenor,
but I don't
dude.
always sing. I'm mostly an actor, but like I've
Yeah,
done
I
I've done
I get
stuff.
it. I
Oh
get it.
God.
Almost Famous, Stranger
Yeah.
Things. I get it. But your voice is so angelic, bro. Like, you
Oh,
have
thank
such a
you
beautiful
very much.
voice.
Very much. I would love to find myself on a project at some point where those two loves of mine can intersect. I went out a lot for like Glee, like the musical properties that like intersect music and TV and all that kind of stuff.
Well, I mean, I,
Those kind of
I
things. Time.
I know you mentioned acting, but so like I didn't do an extensive interview. I just found rabbit holes, right? I
Yeah.
watched all your videos.
Oh
I
no.
watched all your videos. I'm obsessed with the Rolling in the Toxic Deep.
Oh, thank you.
Oh my God. It's gonna be me. Your rendition. Even so I'm talentless, right? I have,
No.
so you're speaking to a guy that just loves listening and watching things, right? So I don't know, like, if arrangement or direction, I don't know what the term is, but what you did with It's Gonna Be Me gave me kind of like early Timbaland vibes, you
Cool.
know,
Cool. Yeah. I
full
mean,
funk.
I like to take back when I was doing, back when I was doing those kind of things. Don't really do it too much anymore, but I like to, reimagine it in some sort of way, or I love doing like a mashup cover of something. Or,
So
um,
good.
thanks. I'm
And
a sound engineer. That's just me, like on my computer, messing around, coming up with something that, like, oh God, like I feel like anybody who really knows what they're doing would cringe at those things. But whatever.
stop it. Stop it. You're messing around is like like, that's not simple to do. You have to have the ear, you have to have the time, but the dedication to make it sound good, and people who produce content, they are usually their worst critic,
Yeah,
and so I think, people who can appreciate really good music needs to check out some of your mashups and just covers. But also what you did with Tainted Love, holy shit, because like Tainted Love is such an iconic classic song, you know, for maybe even younger people that saw Coneheads, maybe that was like their first introduction to Tainted Love. But what you did with it in the piano, and because the dun dun, it's so loud in the original song, and
yeah, yeah.
you you do it so softly, like it just I was like, oh, I like what he did with that. You know what I mean?
Oh,
So
thank you.
so your decisions into the covers, I think is brilliant. Your covers of Adele and Sia, you guys, if you guys love these artists, you guys got to check out Zach's music
That is
and
so nice.
videos.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I haven't done that in a really long time. Maybe I should revisit.
I'm sorry, Quarantine of Solace. That was the
Yeah,
first
yeah.
video that I saw.
So that's the thing,
So
you know,
good.
the pandemic hit and took us all down. And like, I was like, whoa, I guess my buddy and I got together, my buddy Matt Raskew and I got together and he had this idea to do like a James Bond parody and was like, oh, bro, like I really want like a song for it. And I was like, give me a day. And I came up with like a part, like, you know, a companion Bond song that's like a parody. And, you know, it's just like sort of a way to get through the strange time that was the pandemic with, you know, making our
Yeah,
own silly
that
content, having
that
fun.
song is, I mean, parody aside, if you just take the song for what it is, it's like, man, this is really good. Like the voice, and the music in the video is so well done. I mean,
Thank
those
you.
videos are so good. I think it is the Rolling in the Deep. Is that the one where you're mostly looking towards the camera or facing,
Yeah, I used to
right?
do, so there's a couple like that, but yeah, like I'm kind of like
Yeah.
off.
But your lighting and the editing, like everything is just so well done. And I'm I I don't know how to word this without it coming out a little bit. It's your stuff is underseen, dude. Like
Oh,
what's
thank you.
going on?
Thank you.
What
No,
is
I would
going on?
love that. Hey, I would love to be more seen. Thank you for seeing.
You you're like your content should be one of those channels like, oh, you seen that new Zach Zagoria? You know what I mean? Like
Oh, thank you so much, man.
people should legit be really talking about your content, dude. It's that stuff you gotta be
So
really,
nice.
really proud of that stuff, man. That's what I wanted to hit you with. That's the
Dude,
surprise, man. And
that's so
uh,
nice. Thank you.
I got to the end of it. I go, Where's the rest of it? Where's that?
I know. I see. I kind of fell off of it, so now you got me thinking maybe I should revisit some music stuff. I've been focused on, you know, like the acting journey for,
Sure.
you know, in recent times. So
We'll we'll talk about that for sure, man. But I was like, we need to hard underline this music stuff, man,
you're
because
so kind. Thank
yeah,
you.
just because like I think the first obviously, like, when you check somebody's like profile account, you see music songwriter, you see things like that, but like I don't immediately go searching for that stuff, not until I need to do my research.
Yeah, sure.
But I think the first thing that I saw that you did do, like the Almost Famous musical. I love
Yeah.
the movie. The musical is a blind spot for me. um but then also it's like, oh, YouTube channel, oh, Zach's got YouTube videos, okay, let me check some of this stuff. So Quarantine of Solace, I was like, oh my God, he's got an amazing voice. And then I just kept on going. I'm a big fan of like NSYNC. I love Adele. I'm
Me
just like,
too.
man,
Me too. I love like late 90s pop, new millennium, top 40 stuff. Things that, you know, where the lyric is like actually really emotional and full and deep, but maybe it has sort of like a pop packaging. How can you like revisit that and do, you know, service to like the sort of emotional content of the song in a different way? I don't know. I like doing that kind of stuff.
you're it's Zach, it's so your voice is so powerful, and I know that it will move people.
You're
And
so kind.
so, dude, like some of my favorite videos of yours, I'm just like, no, this one like needs so much more. And not surprised that your version of Blank Space, right, by Taylor Swift, is
Yeah.
the one with the most views. And like all the Swifties out there, like I get it,
Woo.
great song, but like your song choices to cover, they're like, you bat 100.
Thank you.
And that's not an expression I use too often. I use it with like John Josh and Hayden. They bat 100, but like, yeah, your music. I hope that's something. Like obviously, I hope to see you in more things in the future, but I would love to hear you. I want those earworms.
Thanks. I mean, I write my own stuff and I have a huge like catalog of that kind of thing too, that I've always just sort of like been trying to figure out what the platform is for it or what the way is for it. Those kind of things I think I've kind of dragged my feet on because it is like a little bit like sharing a diary, you know, but like, you know, I mean, but I have always wanted to share stuff. So hopefully there will be at some point in my life, some opportunity to share like stuff that I've written too, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I hope to hear it. I got a Dropbox. Just
Yeah,
throwing it
yeah.
out there.
Happy to
So
send.
so obviously you have like performance in your DNA. How what's your earliest memory of performing? Was that something you always just wanted to do? You got the voice, you got the acting.
Yeah, it was something that I think I always wanted to do. At least very early. Like I remember in elementary school, like I think it was like something even as like innocuous as like the school plays, like the holiday plays and things like that is where I kind of got my first sort of itch to
Yeah,
it. And then I did a commercial when I was like 12 years old. It was my first audition ever and I booked it. And I was like, oh my God, like, yeah, like it's all happening. And then I've just sort of been like, it takes a long time, but I've been on that grind ever since.
sure. Well, was there anybody in your family that is musical? Not even
Oh,
families.
so
Oh,
my mom is everybody's a music lover. My
okay,
mom always sang to us as children, and she would always be playing really good music in the car. Like there was always Broadway playing in the car. There was always like classic rock playing in the car, music of the
sure.
70s. My dad really loves like oldies. And so there was always music around. Um, and my mom would sing, but not like in a professional sense, but she would sing to us. And like she's got a very creative and musical side to her. But my older sister, Ronnie, um, was really the musical model and sort of like the creative model for myself. I mean, um, yeah, the children are all very creative. That was always something very like and fostered in us and celebrated in us. And our parents are always very supportive of anything that any of us wanted to do. So um I didn't have this is my sister, my older sister was sort of like my musical model, but I didn't have any real acting
Influences or
models from
inspirations?
my family. I mean, my elder sister who I look to for musical inspiration, she's in a band currently. She's always writing songs too. But I saw her do like school plays and things like that, but nobody ever really wanted to in my family ever really wanted to do this.
Yeah, yeah. So it sounds like you guys are pretty tight too. It sounds like, huh?
Yeah, yeah, I love
That's
them.
awesome. That's
Great.
awesome. Yeah. Holy cow, man. Have you guys ever done like a siblings collaboration of sort just for fun even?
My sister, where were we out there for? I was just out. She lives in Colorado, and she has that band that I told you about, and we'd always like talked about getting together and singing something, and it just never happened. And my whole family was going to be out there for a show she was doing, and it finally happened. Like we kind of like were coordinating with each other back and forth in secret, and we'd organized this thing, and I made it out to one of their shows with my whole family there, and she kind of like called me up, which was a surprise to everybody, and like it was just such a fun experience. We sang Tears for Fears, um
Which song?
Head Over Heels.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's so dope. I went to see Tears for Fears actually recently. They were doing a joint tour with Hall and Oates. See, like I love
Okay.
music and I love music from every era. I love yacht rock and I love like 80s music too. And I was so stoked to see Hall and Oates, and I didn't even know that like Tears for Fears was going to be sort of like their joint show. And then like Tears for Fears came out. I was just like, this is the best. You don't realize how many um Tears for Fears songs and how much are like just mega mega hits. You're just like, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
So
I'm
there's
sure
something about
like,
the
that there are several, but there's like way more than even I was like realizing.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I love to do like a little deep dive on bands where I'm like, oh wait, this was them. And like
Yeah,
sometimes like it's almost like you should have known, but sometimes some bands just sound like another band. You just thought it was this other band. And anybody that's like old enough to remember like, a program like LimeWire, like you couldn't really just type in the artist and the title because some idiots they'll put like lyrics from the chorus thinking that's the title of the song, or
yeah,
even
yeah, sure.
they'll rename the artist as this other artist that it actually sounds like. So there's this
Yeah,
whole ass thing. And so you just really didn't know until like today or nowadays you can just pull up maybe even YouTube, or I guess they have like Vivo, but like sometimes the information is just wrong, but yeah, Cheers for Fears, love me the 80s, some 70s. I grew up with my dad's music too, so I totally get it. So you've done like live performances, I named a few of your projects. Do you have a preference like live where because you really can't do any extra takes versus the stuff behind like in front of the camera? Do you have a preference in one or the other?
I think the disciplines are very different and they both kind of like scratch different itches for me that I really love.
Okay.
I love the sort of evanescence of a live show, you know, the flash in the pan sort of nature of it, where it's just like we're all here in this room together. Let's see what happens every, you know, if you're lucky enough to do multiple shows of like a, you know, a stage show or something like that. Every night can be different and that's really cool. Um, what I don't love about that so much these days is that now everybody has like their phone and so they're recording it, you know, and so like if something does go wrong or whatever, like that lives on forever, which I don't love. But because you know, you don't want to like feel embarrassed or whatever. But I do love that live quality and that magic of like you don't know what's going to happen. There is that quality in film and TV as well. I love the safety and freedom to play and know that you can be able to do multiple takes and things like that. It's a very different sensibility. It's a very different discipline. Um, I think there because of the sort of formal features of what is required to film a show or something like that, TV show. Um, it can be a little. It's just a different sensibility and a different skill set, and it can be a little like more um, tedious. You kind of have to execute. You know, there's not just like that one thing and then that's it, you know? So I love both of them. I'm focused more on film and TV right now, but I would love some world where I can do both, you know, maybe go do a short contract on a live show somewhere while I'm on hiatus from something or in between, you know, film TV projects or something like that. I love
Yeah.
both worlds and they really are fulfilling in very different ways.
One last question about like kind of like the live performances before we get
Yeah.
into like Obliterated. I didn't get to look into the details of it, but listed in the credit that really caught my eye was American Idiot. You know,
Yeah.
Green Day.
Yeah.
What can you share about that project and your role on that?
That was a show that we did. I think it was the West Coast premiere of that show at a warehouse down in downtown LA. And it was just that was such a fun experience. The production company is called Glory Struck. It's like a bunch of um people I know and have worked with since, and you know, we're quite like a family, and I love all of them. And it was just the best time, you know, like that's this happens on films and TVs too. I think it really happened with Obliterated as well, where like you get together with a group of people and the vibes feel so warm and familial, you know? Um, and you carry, you know, that like sort of group with you moving forward, you know. And so I'm really grateful to that American Idiot performance. Man, it is an energetic show. It is energetically expensive. It was like a sprint for 90 minutes, a sprint for 90 minutes, and you're having to like dance super hard, thrash around, sing very delicately. Like it is, you know, so for from the aspect of what a challenge it was, I loved it too, and I got to be around also just some of the best people.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty amazing. I mean, in just the titles alone, I mentioned Stranger Things, Almost Famous.
I get
I love that movie so much, and that soundtrack. So, like, what was it? Stillwater
you.
music that?
Yeah, it's the same
Okay,
people that was the same production company that did the Almost Famous show at the Troubadour.
okay,
Yeah, so it was
that's
that
amazing.
was all the same actors, the same production company, all the same crew. Yeah,
Yeah,
you know, it
that
becomes a little bit like your family.
yeah, it's nice when you have that continuity because I know not often are you able to get like the same people for different locations. I kind of learned that with the Back to the Future the musical coming to the U.S. for the first time recently. Because
Oh,
yeah, it was in London for a few years. I flew to
whoa!
New York.
I want to see that.
It's so good. If you love the movie,
I
I
love
got
the
a
movie.
flux I got a flux capacitor tatted right here. And
Fly.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But so we knew that it was a thing. It's just like I wish the US would get it. They finally came, and I didn't know until the night of that it's the same actor that played George in London that came
Oh,
over.
cool. Cool,
Yeah,
cool.
and Doc's the same actor, but everyone else I believe was all local to the continental US. So
Yeah, cool.
it's really really good. I was just like I don't know how they're gonna do it, but it's almost just it's almost like watching a remake that did it justice with music. You know,
Cool.
like because all those beats they're still hitting things they're doing differently because it's a stage version, right? So there's things that you
Yeah.
just can't do on stage, so they have to rework certain things. I don't want to give some of those details away, but it's done so well, and I was sobbing throughout the whole thing because that's my Star
I love
Wars,
it.
you know.
I
I
love
was
it. Yeah,
just
no, I know. On a property that's so beloved, like that, or there's many beloved properties,
The
that.
Karate Kid. I didn't
Yeah.
get to see that one, but I heard people really loved it.
Have getting to have some sort of new adventure with it, I think is, cool and special. I love those kinds of opportunities to be able to like
Yeah.
experience something new with something that you're like, okay, well, like if we didn't have this, then I could just sort of like love it and watch the original properties or whatever. But now I get to experience a new facet of it, a new avatar of it, get to have a new relationship with the same story, the same characters that we love.
Sounds like Cobra Kai, you know?
Hey, exactly.
It worked there. So
Exactly.
so so Blast.
Wow.
How did you find this role? Did the role find you?
Role found me,
Okay.
I I got the audition and I immediately loved him. I wanted him so bad. I wanted him so bad. And I like did my tape and I was like, oh, I just like I really want this part. I like really want this part. I think he's so funny. I think he's so lovable. I mean, the breakdown, I think, said that he's the kind of guy you don't want your daughter dating,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
And
He's the one your mom warned you about, right? Like
yeah,
that old expression. Yeah.
yeah, but what I really wanted to do with him is make sure that yes, he is those things your parents might think, really, this guy? Like what a but I still wanted you to really love him. I still wanted him to be so lovable and fun, and he's just sort of like the ultimate wannabe.
I don't
Yeah.
know about the ultimate wannabe. He's definitely got some I believe the kids call it Riz, you know? You know, but yeah, he's I mean, so like, when you discovered what I did, right? And I'm just like, yo, I love this character Blast. Like, what did you think? Did you think like, oh, maybe I did what I wanted to do with that character, or do you think that it's like, oh, maybe this guy is just like saying something nice just because I'm on the show? Did you when did you grasp that like, hey, you know what? Maybe I did do a good job with Blast.
um so I I'm not sure. I think that like, everybody was when I got to set, like people had seen my tape, which was so lovely, and everybody was just like very complimentary, you know what I mean? And supportive. And just like I would make choices and be like, oh, like was that and people would be so affirming, and it was just like the environment itself, and this is a top-down thing, not every site is like that. Like the environment itself was just so supportive and loving and familial, and you can tell everybody who's there just like loves what they do, and it was just an honest creative space, and we found all of that together. I don't take complete like the whole credit for it. It's a group effort. Anything that we see, like so, you know, whether it's we're doing takes and trying things, and like I felt so comfortable and safe to try things and play, and then the director or the boys would throw out alts and we'd audition different things and just see what's we're just playing and creating and having the best time doing it. And so I'm not, you always want to be doing a good job. I'm not sure that I had like a moment where I was like, oh man, like I really crushed this, or like, oh yeah, like I
Okay.
did. But like
Yeah.
I certainly have received very positive and warm and affirming feedback from people whose opinions I really care about.
Absolutely. And then, that's what's most important, like the people's whose opinions that you value, right?
I mean, I
Like,
want to be doing a good job for them, so
yeah,
I want,
absolutely.
so
Yeah.
that's
Like of my interviews, that's the things that I continue to hear, the people that work with like John, Josh, and Hayden is just
they're
like
the best.
it's not even a job. You're
No,
coming and you're coming to have fun,
yep,
you know. So
yeah.
that's kind of feels so rewarding. You mentioned like some of the opinions whose you value, friends and family. What about the
Yeah.
fans? Like, well, what are
Oh,
some fun things?
I would love it
Yeah,
if the fans respond well to Blast.
yeah.
Um,
Have you heard some really fun stuff that people are reaching out about?
just some people, saying how much they loved my character, or some people have quoted lines back, like in the comments or things like that, which is always fun. I forget, I don't the specific lines that have been repeated back are escaping me right now, but that's really fun. I want to do something that people respond well to, always. So
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me, when I think of Blast, I think a lot of it's a lot of his like reactions because it is very much like, what the fuck did I find myself in the middle of? Like it's just me and my girlfriend like prom night. Like, what the hell is going on? Because
yeah.
like one of the early images, I believe it was a publicity still with like Blast behind Paul. Yeah, I had to make sure that
Oh
I'm using the
yes,
right
yeah,
names.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
right, like that look that you got going on. I'm just like, that's just Blast, and it's just so funny because it's just like you see so much in his face. Like what's yeah, the processing there.
What I wanted with him was like somebody who he's like a newborn baby almost, you know what I mean? Like it's Blast World. I think he is kind of a master of none, but thinks that he's the best at everything. But he's not the brightest bulb. So what I wanted for him was you to like sort of read everything across his face. I wanted you to like really see him processing and sort of like intaking the world that's happening around him and being like, wait, like what is happening here? I also think that he doesn't really uh there's like a naivete about him, a rose-coloredness about him that I really like love. I really love that about him. I aspire to be like that more in my actual life, but like, he doesn't ever the real stakes of the situation, the real danger always sort of seems to be a bit lost on him. So I think that he is just like engaged, thinks everything is cool. It's like, oh my God, you just shot someone in the head. Like, that is dope. Like, what? Yeah. Like, I think he thinks like life is a video game, Like that he'll regenerate and get another chance. This isn't his game over.
Right. Oh man. Did you find anything particularly challenging or like this is a bad example of like the combat roles that I told you that I just think is so great because like a lot of Blast's comedic moments are again physical, whether it's the
Oh yeah,
facial
sure.
reactions or the stuff that he does. But
Sure.
yeah, did you think there was anything with Blast that you were like, that sounds like a fun challenge for me to try?
I mean, the whole thing was a fun challenge for me to try, but insofar as anything being particularly like arduous or difficult, no, I had the best time. This was a dream of a job. I had the best time. That like I there was nowhere else I would have rather been. There's nothing else I would have rather done with the combat role. So obviously there are stunt coordinators and the stunt performers there. And they and the boys, everybody is very concerned in making sure that like everybody feels comfortable and that safety is a priority and all that stuff. So they had sort of explained to me how to do it, the combat role, and they like taped like pads to my back and to my like tailbone here, just so they were like, now here's like where you make contact, here's where how you make this feel okay, like this could really hurt you. So everybody had sort of explained to me the appropriate way to do it, and I felt very comfortable to do so. And I always am so down to do it. Like if there's a stunt that I can do safely, that like I'm permitted to do, like I want to do it. So they'd show me to do it, and like I was doing it. They'd explained it so well. So I was like doing the combat role. And then I forget who it was. It was either America, the director, or one of the boys came over and was like, all right, the combat role is looking too good. What if you did it like really slow and stupid? I was like, that's it. Like that is so smart, like that is just hilarious. Like, and so yeah, that's a note that I got on the thing, and I was like, yes, let me make this really slow and stupid. And then I like jumped up and hit like some karate pose, or just
That,
being silly.
that's
But that
amazing.
benefits of how much playtime it is, and how like we're all like co-creating and having a great time, and just being like, oh yeah, like what about this, try that, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like it was
Very
just
collaborative.
best experience, the best
Yeah.
experience ever.
Yeah, that direction that you just mentioned, it kind of reminds me of the day after tomorrow with Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I
I haven't
remember
seen
like
that maybe in a long time.
it's
It's
one of my
great.
favorite like
I
disaster
remember
movies.
loving it. Yeah.
uh I forgot what year it came out, but I remember this footage that they had shared, and I think it was something where like Jake had to like run and then and maybe jump and slide off the hood of a car, but he was doing it too like action hero-y. It's like
Yeah.
you're a teenager, like it shouldn't be that easy for you. Let's
Yeah.
dial it back a little bit, kind of thing. So that's like right. If Blast is doing it too well, like what's going on there? So I think that was the right call.
It's
So
the
fun.
total right call. Like, I mean, I don't think Blast is particularly good at anything. I think he fancies himself as like the kick-ass action hero, but in practice, in actuality, like, I think that he falls short. And I think that that's sort of like hopefully something that makes him like lovable. You know what I mean? Like he's just like not. He like
I
is
think he is.
delusional about himself.
Like I think we could use like a some sort of spin-off or web series following the misadventures of Blast. Just
Yeah.
it'd be so funny just to see him out in his daily life doing things. Did,
Yeah.
did what were you told about this character when you booked the role, and or what kind of backstory did you give him? Because I do have like some questions in terms of like plot. We that I'm confused about at least. Yeah, nothing too heavy, just geographically, really.
Oh, geographically. I'm
Yeah,
not sure. So, you get the breakdown when you audition and
I mean, he's come from some sort of money, right? His mom's got the
yeah,
credit
yeah.
card.
His mom is like so like similar to all the things that I've been saying, like about like, I think that he is like maybe someone who is wants to be like a professional video gamer or something. Like this is what I came up with anyway and what I've been using. And like I think that he thinks that he, like could be sponsored, or like has this following on Twitch or something like that. But again, in like actual, like this is his fantasy world, and like what he thinks life is like. So like, yeah, like check out my, like my Twitch, and all my followers, whatever. But like in actuality, he's kind of like not as established or like not as far along as he is. Like that's something that I remember like thinking too is like, okay, this guy like sort of exists in the world as if he is a baller, but like is kind of a poser, like this Bacchanalia suite is on his mom's credit card, so but like he's that's what I mean when I say like I find him to be sort of like the ultimate wannabe, and maybe he'll get there one day, but
Yeah,
right now I think it's a lot of like fronting.
I guess this might be a good question for Eugene as well, because I'm trying to figure out like where is Paul's character from? Because it's like, well, they went to Vegas for prom. Are they from the Nevada area? Nevada, somewhere close, Cali? Do you have any insight into that at all?
I don't know an official answer. I always
Yeah,
just assumed I don't know. I don't know. I always just thought like
yeah,
I was from like LA or something.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. But
yeah.
obviously has the money to be able just to fly over. So clearly somewhere close, probably
Yeah, yeah,
California.
close-ish, I think.
Yeah.
But insofar as an official answer, I don't know where
Yeah. No, because it's
Paul
just
and
like
Ken died. Suburbia somewhere, undoubtedly.
absolutely. I mean, I'm like, that's gonna be a good prom date. Like you want to go with Blast. You're gonna get blasted. You
Very fun.
probably get obliterated, and you're gonna go to Vegas.
Yeah, yeah,
That's pretty cool. That's a prom night to remember.
absolutely. Well, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So yeah, really went big. What are well, do you have like a favorite sequence of Blasts?
I loved the uh being duct taped to the chair scene.
Oh, right. The,
Yeah, I loved it. I loved just sort of working through all the physical beats of that. Like that was really a fun piece to kind of work out. I also loved, so that's a stunt performer who gets flipped over him. Actually, I didn't get to do that one. A stunt performer named Lucas. Um, And they're all amazing. They are so badass and like just like so incredible at what they do and always like so supportive of us and there for us to kind of like help us through all that kind of stuff. I love seeing that. I love watching that whole process happen, watching them get to be like do their art and be so incredible at that. Like I remember like at Video Village just being like, that looks so cool, like when the chair gets flipped over. But that was also my first day on set, you know?
Okay.
So that's the first piece I did. And that's when I met everybody. So there was just like this electricity in the air for me, and I just was like very excited to be there and to be doing this. And you know, I remember also like there's a time when I'm like on the ground, like you know, and I was there like as Eugene's like doing his whole fight sequence and all that stuff, and like just on the ground like watching and getting to kind of just be a fan of all these people too, as they're like just being so badass at what they do, you know.
Can you talk about, I believe it's episode 7 where we're out on the street, right? This is before like the money blows up
Yeah,
and stuff like
yeah,
that. And I believe there's a moment where Paul's walking and then he goes in one direction and then boom, there's Blast and Jenny. Can
just
you talk
misses
about,
us.
yeah, could you talk about filming that? Multiple takes? Like what was the
It was pretty
intricacy of
quick. It was
yeah,
pretty
okay.
quick. You know, so that's like Vegas exteriors legitimately where we were at Caesars, which was just so cool to like work in such an iconic space. And it was really um awesome to like you know, we were kind of like sectioned off, but like, you know, there were people very curious about what we're doing. They exploded that money in the air and people thought that was real, you know, like but you know, I think that everything moved at kind of like a clip, you know, like it wasn't something where that felt particularly long or drawn out or you know, they're kind of hitting that like in a oneer, you know, so the camera's moving and stuff like that. And like, yeah, they all really know what they're doing, you know, so they're just like acing this stuff, you know, and
Yeah.
yeah, he just like almost he just misses us.
Yeah, there's a few moments like that too, just like in episode 6 where Paul is like on the phone with Haggerty, not knowing he's in the same diner. And
Yeah,
actually, well, no, they didn't miss each other because they see each other on the outside. That's
yeah,
a whole ass moment too. As we get ready to wrap up, a couple more sequences I'd like to get some insight on if you have any
yeah.
to share. The bedroom sequence with all the money. You know, there's a bit of a reveal, like, hey, Blast picked up all that money too.
You know, there was actually gonna be a scene where we like were there for that, you know, collecting all the money and running off, and that was really like these scripts are so sharp and funny and hilarious, and I think it just didn't make it in for time, but
I think it's funnier that you don't see that.
yeah, you kind of get
You
to like
know,
a little Easter egg, you put it together
yeah,
after.
it's yeah. You're just like, okay, they were there, and just to imagine what that looks like in your own head is probably funnier than what we would have seen. Like it would have been funny. I get cutting for time, but it's like, well, we'll understand later when you're like laying in a bed full of money. Like we'll
Where'd
get
this
it.
money come from? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Like
that's
so.
another
Like,
thing too, where I was like, okay, so he's never had like a bed of cash before. Like this is like where I mean, like I think that he's sort of like this poser, ultimate wannabe, you know, like he's like thinks that this is his life, and like I'm sure he'll take the pick, but this is not his
oh yeah,
normal, you know?
it's on the gram.
Yeah, it's
There's a pic.
all
Yeah,
for the
it's
gram.
on Blass's yeah account. Pictures of him laying swimming like
Yeah,
Uncle Scrooge. It's
yes.
it's all there. Now, what about the sequence where Paul talks to his daughter? You know, Blast is there as well. I'm sure Eugene wasn't really in a helicopter, you know, but just well, maybe he was, right? Like, but
Um,
so how is that? Because it's such an emotional moment.
oh my God, I know,
Yeah,
and they're both just so like full and they're emotionally available and just like such tender moments with them and um so generous as scene partners too and just like masters at their like craft, you know. um so for are you asking how did that particular scene happen?
just filming that scene, just the experience of filming it. Like, you know, what was it? Just pretty quick and easy, kind of like what you were talking about the kind of wonder, right, in the previous moment, or like was it you know, because it's such an emotional moment, was there a lot of takes and trying it different ways, you know, directing? I guess maybe some more questions for Eugene I can ask, you know.
Yeah, I don't remember there being an inordinate amount of takes. I
Yeah.
mean, you know, it's normal to do a couple, a few. I think there was like a few, maybe maybe 2 or 3. I don't remember that. I don't remember it taking a
Yeah.
particularly long time. But so we were working on this set that is that hotel room, and there are these LED screens that
Right.
like, show the environment outside,
Right.
the Vegas outside. In some cases, a lot of cases we were there, but for this was on a set. And Eugene, I think, had already filmed that helicopter scene. And so it's not like they weren't playing that back for us on the screen, but they did
Okay.
pull him up looking badass in his shades in the helicopter for eye lines, just to have it so like Minnie and I could look at it. But Eugene, being such the gracious like scene partner that he is, sat there off to the side and delivered that uh, scene with Minnie in person,
Right.
which is just
I think
so
that
really so generous.
that probably adds to her performance too, to have him like right there.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. And that's the thing is like everybody, I think, who's a part of this, from what I observed, is just like so pro and masterful and kind and like gracious, generous with their like everybody is shares a common goal, a common mission, which is that we all like want to just make this the best that it can be, you know? And
Yeah.
I've been on sets before too, where like, the someone wouldn't have done that.
Right. Right. No, I've heard some of those stories in other projects as well. Was
It's a good
there
egg, that Eugene.
uh
He's a good egg, that Eugene.
yeah, is he really okay? All right, despite what other people say, right?
Nah,
He's pretty.
I bet
Yeah.
everybody's that.
Yeah. You mentioned some like alts and
Yeah.
the things that you were kind of being thrown at. Do you recall anything that improvised, not on paper, that did not make the script?
Oh yeah, lots of stuff. It was a very playful time. But like when I'm like
Some of your
on
favorites.
in the chair,
Yeah.
duct tape, and like Eugene's like fighting the baddies and stabbing the wine and the thing. So I was on the floor uh getting coverage, and they were like, feel free to like ad lib stuff. Also, they were throwing out say this, say that, like alts, auditioning alts all the time. And so like one of the things was like Eugene had a fight sequence, and the boys from Video Village were like, say Cobra Kai, like I thought that was just so like I wasn't over how funny I thought it was yet. And so I was like laughing, like that made me like break and laugh. And so that whole sequence, there was a lot of alts that were kind of thrown out, and a lot of things that I thought were just hysterical. But like the entire experience was hysterical and fun and playful, and I want to do it again.
Yeah.
I'm looking
Yeah.
for another opportunity to put on the blast suit.
I think so. What they do really well, and you hear them say this in interviews all the time, that like every character, whether they have one scene, one line, in their projects, is that those characters are the leads of their own stories, and everybody that I have seen thus far, I don't see, depending on the location. For Blast, he's a little bit differently because somewhat connected to Paul's character, right, or Eugene's character of Paul.
Yeah.
I couldn't see a Janet returning unless it's in Vegas again, or hey, maybe she's on another like divorce trip elsewhere. But like some of these characters that are connected in some way, I don't see why they couldn't come back,
Right.
in another season. Maybe they need somebody that can take some punches, and Paul volunteers Blast. I got somebody in mind. Then boom,
Yeah.
we see Blast again.
Yeah.
It's
And
like,
he would love it too, because he would
you
like
know,
me to for a little bit.
he'd be like, hey, like, hey, Dad. So what do you want? Like, stop calling me Dad. If you could just chill
Exactly.
here, we're gonna use you for a very secret project. Oh yeah, you're like, I love it. Like it writes itself. The character of Blast. I kid you
Put
not.
me in, coach. I'm ready. Blast will be there and ready.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
can't. I would love to. This was just like a dream experience, a dream job. Like I said, it like feels very just warm and familial, and
yeah.
everybody who I got to experience and witness is just like masterful and loves what they do, and you can tell that, and that's contagious. And it was just I cannot speak more highly of these people, and I'm inspired by them. And
Oh yeah,
yeah,
man. that's why I continue to cover them. You know, I just
I love it. Yeah,
like you said, it's contagious. You know, they're such great people. I try to do better.
they are
Sometimes, you know, it's hard, but uh,
real ones.
but
They're all so real.
they really are. 100, I think, is also something the kids say. And the character of Blast, let me look over here. Another thing kids say is you ate that and left no crumbs.
Hate
The
that.
character of Blast.
Yeah.
Zach, pun intended, I had a blast speaking with you.
Thank you.
You know, bucket list, Zach Zagoria, you know, just love your story. Please keep making more music.
Thank you. I
You know,
will.
people need to check it out. I'll, you know, include the link in the show notes, you know, to check out your channel. I might even start clipping things myself, be like, did you guys know he sang this? Or like check out his voice. It's just, yeah, it's very angelic, man. I love it. Yeah,
Thank you so
eargasm.
much. And thank you for
All
having me
right.
on your awesome show. And it
Thank
was
you.
so good chatting with you. I really appreciate you having me.
Yeah, yeah, I appreciate you. If you welcome the interaction, do you have any socials you want to drop that way people can get a hold of you? I know, you know, many probably already follow you on Instagram.
Yes. I Instagram is kind of like my main squeeze. I'm just at Zach Zagoria on Instagram. I don't really do too many of the other ones, so that's kind of the best space.